Peace, mercy, and blessing of God be upon you. Welcome to a new video in our practical series. Today, we have officially reached the first phase of building the BuildFlow system. Before we open the terminal and start creating project and writing code, there is a cornerstone we must lay first. We need to build the centralized library that binds the entry system together. Today, we will talk about the SharedKernel. But what is the SharedKernel anyway? Let's understand the concept first before jumping into the code. The SharedKernel or the shared core is centralized class library that contains the core rules, types, and components shared by all modules without exception inside the system. Let's take a real-world example to make it clearly. Think of building code issued by a specific city municipality. Every building constructed in this city, whether it is a small house or skyscrapers or hospital, must comply with this foundational code. The law doesn't interfere in the layout of houses' bedroom, but it establishes the general shared rules. This is exactly the role of the shared kernel in our BuildFlow project. Every module we create later, such as identity, project, or document, will depend on this rule defined here. As the software architect of the project, you must rigorously protect the boundaries of the shared kernel. If you put the wrong code here, your system will collapse and turn into tightly coupled, complex code. So, what is allowed to go inside the shared kernel? We place the foundational abstraction of domain-driven design, entities, value, object, aggregate root, and domain event. We also place general infrastructure abstraction such as iCommand, iQuery, and iTenant context for managed multi-tenancy. Alright, what is strictly forbidden from entering the shared kernel first? Any business logic specific to practical module. For instance, the terms and rules for documents approvals. Their prepared place is document module only, not their second database code and entity framework. This shared kernel defines contract, meaning interface, and base class only, and never interferes in infrastructure implementation details. We keep it completely pure. Now, let's explain the foundational concept of the domain-driven design that we will be coding. This specific topic comes up in every technical job interview for senior developers. Without exception, what is the difference between an entity and value object? Let's start with the entity. And entity is an object that have a unique and a persistence identity, ID. This identity stays with it throughout its life cycle in the system, even if all its other properties change. Let's take a user as an example. If a user changes their name in the system from Ali to Ali Hassan, then to Ali Hassan, and change their email address, have they become a different person in the system? No, they are the exact same user because their user ID doesn't change. Their identity is what defines them, not their data. Now, let's see the exact opposite with the value object. A value object is defined by its value only, and doesn't have any independent ID or identity. If we change a value inside it, it becomes a completely new, different object. Think of an email. The email address ali@test.com is completely identical to another email text carrying the same value, ali@test.com. If we compare them, they are equal based on value alone, and we do not give them an ID in the database. If we change it to ahmed@test.com, it is not a modified object, rather it is a completely new value. Let's look at the practical example from our BuildFlow system. A user is an entity. It has an ID, and it is data change over time. An email or money like $500 is a value object. The 500 is a value that doesn't own an ID. To differentiate it from another $500, a project is an entity. It has an ID. Its name and status might change, but its identity remain constant. The second foundational concept we will build in the SharedKernel is an aggregate root. An aggregate root is a cluster of associated entity and value objects that are managed together as a single unit when saving or modifying data. Most importantly, the cluster has only one gatekeeper or gateway, which is the root. Not external object can directly modify the contents of this cluster except through this gatekeeper. Let's see how this applies in BuildFlow. A project is considered an aggregate root. Inside it, here is a list of project members who are entities that live only within the project. In the professional design system, you cannot go directly from the API to modify a member's role in the project. Writing code like member role equal lead. This is a fatal mistake, because by doing this, you bypass business rules and no one is validating whether this modification is legal, allowed in our system or not. The correct way is to go through the gatekeeper, the aggregate root. So you say a project change member role, user ID role lead. Here the project validates the business rule itself. Does the project already have another lead? Does the user even exist in this project? And if the conditions are valid, it modifies the value itself to protect the data. This is why the aggregate root is so important. It ensures that business rules are never broken and that your data is consistent and protected at all times. The final concept we will lay down today is domain events. A domain event is a record of something crucial that has already happened in the system in the past, and since it has happened in the past, its name must be in the past tense. Example from our project: tenant created, user invited, or document approved. These are all historical facts that occurred within our business. But why go through the trouble of using them? You use them to achieve a complete isolation and decoupling, loose coupling. Domain events allow us to separate the primary action that occurred from the side effect that must take place forward. Let's trace a real workflow in BuildFlow. When an engineer clicks the approval button and the code invokes document approve, the core responsibility of this function is to change the document state and protected business environments. As soon as it is finished, it is fires a document approved event. Now look at the power of this button with a complete independent handler, a background handler capturing this event. It is send notification email to the owner. There is another completely separate handler that catches the same event and updates the company's dashboard statistic. The document entity knows nothing about service, email, or statistics. It is simply announced to the system, I have been verified and approved, and this rest of the system responded to that. This makes the code incredibly flexible and unbelievable scalable. Now the picture has become perfectly clearly, and we have laid a solid theoretical foundation for the shared kernel. We understand the difference between an entity and a value object. We learned how the aggregate root protects system rules and how domain events decouple the code and make it is flexible. In the very next video, we will move from theory to practical implementation. We will open the terminal together, create the solution and the project step by step, and write the basic classes and abstract components. For these concepts inside BuildFlow SharedKernel, we will prepare the system for the next phase, which is multi-tenancy. If we are interested in evaluating the quality of your code and moving from writing simple cloud application to architecting massive enterprise system as the senior developer, make sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and share with me in the comments. Have you used an aggregate root before in your real world project, or is this the first time you have discovered this concept? Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Peace, mercy, and blessing of God be upon you.